What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 41 of the Michael Lab Show. Let's get straight down to business, guys. Let's get straight down to business. I have been informed that my microphone is not set up the correct way. Make sure everything's recording. Everything is recording. I've been informed by somebody that my microphone is not set up the correct way. And it needs to be hanging down in front of me. And I kind of realize that. It kind of needs to be like, here's the speaker, the top part of the speaker needs to be pointing down, and it needs to be like vertical in front of my mouth, not up like this. I've been informed that that will make it sound better. So we will be making changes to that soon, hopefully. It's just kind of hard, like the way I have it set up in this corner of my room. I don't really have a lot of like places I can like put it so it's hanging out in front of me. I kind of have it like connected to the table in front of me, but no one cares about that, right? That's not a big deal. If you guys could see right now, I cleaned my entire room. I dusted my entire shelf. I cleaned it up. It looks beautiful. I got rid of so many things that I didn't need that were just taking up space, and it makes me feel so much better. One thing I have a little bit of dust on top of my video camera, which is kind of weird. I think I should probably dust that up, but I feel like I have a clear mind now with the podcast. Like I can just sit here, talk, which I clearly do a lot because we're up to episode 41, and yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's crazy to think about, but yeah, I dusted everything. I cleaned everything up. I just kind of went on a cleaning binge yesterday. But happy Monday, guys. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your Monday. Hopefully you guys enjoy your week. We're moving in closer and closer to Black Friday. It is getting here super quick, and Thanksgiving is coming, and Christmas is coming, and all the holidays are coming. And this is the first year I'm going to do a Black Friday without my clothing company. So, as you guys know, let's just be honest. As we all know, the clothing company that I own called Silence Fitness hasn't really been being pushed as hard as it once was at one point. And here's the truth, and here's the honest truth. The honest truth is it was very difficult. I wasn't fully prepared for it, and financially I just wasn't capable of let me write this down. Yeah, I wasn't fully prepared for it. So I started the company about 2 years ago, and it's not over. I'm not saying it's over. I'm just saying this Black Friday I won't be launching any new clothing. I won't be pushing any sales or anything. I'm going to be a consumer this year instead of a producer, instead of a business owner. I still have the business. I still have the license name and everything. Silence Fitness is still under my name. I still have a tax number and everything, but sales are not going to be as high this year. But to be honest, it was one of those things where I had to choose between a few things, because the first issue is financially it is hard. It is hard, and people don't understand that scaling a company is not easy. And it's not one of those things that you just do. It's one of those things that the only way you can really do it is you got to have a company that didn't succeed, and then have a new company that you learn, and that you literally, and I'm in the process of learning this right now because I have a few other things that I'm thinking about doing. But you have to learn exactly what didn't go right the first time. And here's the thing that didn't go right the first time. I wasn't prepared. What does that mean? Bullet point A. I was buying inventory that was too high, before I even knew my customer base. I assumed customers before I even had customers. Why? Because I overvalued the amount of positive reaction I was getting about the company. That's something that I think is very important. If you're a podcaster, if you're a business owner, you should do pre-sales. You should do something that allows you to at least see how many customers you have, because something that is going to happen to you if you start a clothing company, if you start any kind of company, is you're going to have a positive group of people saying, good idea, good idea, good idea. But the feedback of the percentage of those, like the people actually purchasing, is going to be a lot lower than what you expect. And that's just the truth of it. Not everybody, it takes a lot of work to really get somebody to purchase your product. You got to think about it. People don't buy as much as people don't purchase all the time. especially clothing, especially, something that you're selling. And when they do, they purchase the things that they're aware of. So you have to get your brand out there so much that it's bombarding them more than Nike, more than, Under Armour, more than, fashion. I don't know, Gucci. I don't know. But you really have to connect that brand. And the truth of the matter is I just wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for that. Financially, I decided to spend my money elsewhere. I decided to invest in my education. So that's, a good amount of money right there. That's about $7,000 right there. I decided to invest into this right here, this podcast, which was a couple grand right there to get the setup. And I decided to invest into my future. So literally investing. And it's one of those things where the website's still up and I still have stuff up for sale because I still have some inventory, but it's one of those things I'm just not pushing at the moment. I don't know really why I got into that too much, but these are the three things that. Oh yeah, Black Friday. I hope everyone enjoys Black Friday. This will be the first Black Friday that I won't be producing anything, which is actually kind of cool because usually around Thanksgiving I am extremely stressed in preparation for the sale of Silence Fitness clothing, whether it be, getting counting inventory, getting the website going, get all of the posts ready for, for the anticipation. So building up for Black Friday, whether it be social media like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube, all the social media is posting every single day, multiple times a day, making sure inventory is correct, making sure the website's up, making sure that you're ready to ship, making sure that you have everything that you need, and then getting all the shots, getting product shots, getting modeling shots, getting advertisement shots, getting all those things. It can be exhausting. And it was exhausting, and I was so happy I did it. I think I did 2 or 3 Black Friday sales, and each time the money was just got more and more and more. It's not done though. It's definitely not done. I'm going to get back into it eventually. I just really had to put money on places that I guess I had to take care of. I felt like I had to take care of certain things. So yeah, that's just kind of my thing. I hope everyone gets what they want. I hope everybody gets great things for other people, and more than anything, I hope everyone takes care of themselves, and I hope everybody enjoys time with the family. But I'm gonna try a few things out here on this podcast episode. I have a few things here that I kind of want to cover. I had a pretty hard day yesterday, so I'm recording this on 11/9. You guys are watching this on, I don't know, 11/11. But I had a rough day on 11/8. Just kind of felt lonely all day. As I'm recording this right now, nobody's home, no dog, no nothing. It's just kind of dark in the house, and nobody's home. So it gave me a lot of time to think, clean, dust. And I was going through some folders of my childhood, I guess schoolwork-wise. And I run across this one called, it's the Summer Enrichment Program in Mathematics in middle school. There's so many things I did that I don't remember any of these. But from the time I was a child, like the youngest I can even remember, I've always been good at math. Like I've always been able to computate numbers very well. I have I have an extraordinary amount of OCD when it comes to numbers. I love numbers. I love numbers in pairs. I love matching numbers. My favorite thing is when when words have the same number of letters between each letter of the word. So got to think of a word. Okay, like hammer. I like hammer because it sounds so weird that I never thought in my life I would ever open up and say shit like this. That's what's so weird about. Anyways, like if someone would say the word hammer to me, my mind would literally, immediately go to why does hammer? Like I've always thought, why do some words sound better than other words coming out of your mouth? And I've kind of come with like one of my conclusions is, or one of my hypotheses is that when words are close, this makes no sense, but like for the word hammer, the letters H to M there's just as many letters between H to M as there is to M to R. So H to M, HIJKLM, 5 letters. M to R, NOPQR. So you got hammer, and so I really like that word. You can also put that word in alphabetical order very easily. So hammer would be HAMMER, AEHMMR. Like duck, CDKU, DUCK, flower, EFLORW, kiss, IKSS, chip, CHIP. Like words, so like a word like chip is like an amazing word because chip is already in alphabetical order. I don't know what it is, but I've always kind of had like that weird thing with numbers and letters. Like I can do this whole, I would do this pamphlet of, I was just going to read the title. It's called Summer Enrichment Program in Mathematics Algebra 1 Student Evaluation. I'll go ahead and put all the letters in alphabetical order, word by word. So student, or so summer, EMMRSU, enrichment, CEEHIMNNRT, program, AGMOPR, RNIN, mathematics, ACEEHIMMST, algebra, AABEGLR, student, DENSTTU, evaluation, AAEILNOTUV, EVALUATION. So like I've always had that like that thing, and I don't know what it was. I think I haven't really talked about it in therapy, but I have talked to myself a lot about it. I think I just get so deep. I get so deep into my thoughts that I almost like, it's almost like a survival instinct I have to like escape my brain for a second. It's almost like a distraction. Like I remember having conversations with people where and I don't mean this in like a bad way, but I remember having conversations with people where the conversation I was having felt like there was no progress. Like I didn't like sitting there talking and like nothing was really getting covered. There was something about that just didn't like, I don't know, like I wasn't really like enjoying it. And I don't know where that comes from per se, but I do know that I would look for anything to distract myself from the conversation. So it wasn't like ignoring people. I would still be listening, but as they were saying words like I had such a bad day, I would be like ADH ABD ADY, like, you know, stuff like that. Like the word Packers, PACKERS ACEKPRS. Bruce Springsteen, BCERU, EEGINNPRSST, SPRINGSTEEN. Anyways, so I used to do things like this all the time, and so throughout school, I struggled a lot with like teachers. We were always like conflicting, like teachers and me and my parents. There was always like this triangle of like anger, but like confusion. Like, so the dynamic between me and the teachers was, he's so smart, he's learning everything, but he's not paying attention. Like he's not, like he's talking in class, he's like, you know, he's always like fidgeting around, because when I would do when I was younger, I would use my fingers to do it. I would do it a lot with clocks too. Like if I look at my phone, like I'm gonna look at my phone real quick. What time? It's 5:25. I would like try to make those letters all be able to match each other somehow. So 5 times 5 equals 25. I would always like try to figure things out. So like 5 minus 2 equals 3. 3 plus 2 equals 5. So I use like all those numbers in the set of numbers I get to be able to allow all of them to kind of be synchronized with each other. So I would always like use my fingers to do stuff like that. I was, you know, whatever it was, I was always like fidgeting around. Because I don't think I was ever challenged enough. Like my brain was never challenged enough. So I would get bored very quickly, and like severely ADHD, where I would just like be everywhere all the time, and I lost like inability to focus. Anyways, I digress. So I'm going through my stuff. I'm cleaning my room up, and I see this summer enrichment program in mathematics, Algebra 1. Student evaluation for Central Middle School. I forget that I went to like a summer enrichment program. I don't even know what that means. I guess that means like his ability, like students were evaluated in the following areas throughout the summer enrichment program. I guess I was like not doing well in school. Like I was doing well, but I wasn't doing well in terms of school. Like school has certain criteria, and if you don't fulfill those out, they consider you like a struggling child. Essentially, I don't think they say that, but that's kind of what they're. That's essentially what they're telling you, that you are struggling in school. So I look over this, and it says my name, Michael Labs, the teacher, Ms. Hartman. Well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, whatever. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Fuck it. Okay, whatever. Okay, so it's like broke down in some sections, like problem solving, computation, algebraic concepts, work habits. So I scored superior in evaluates expressions, performs proper order of operations, works quickly, efficiently, estimation, mental computation when appropriate, demonstrates proficiency with basic facts, works well independently. And then I got like good on argumentative, so I guess it was semi-argumentative. But the comments are, I have enjoyed having Michael in my summer math class. I feel confident that he will be successful in algebra if he will stay persistent, focused, and serious about the task at hand. He has great potential. Best of luck to him. It's not hilarious. He will be successful in algebra if he will stay persistent, focused, and serious about the task. Like, that's something that I was reading that, and I just started like tripping out. Like, I started like laughing in my room, because that is like me to the T right there. Like, I can do fine if I can like do all those. Like, if I can focus, I usually do well at things. But I have struggled so much with being focused. Oh no, I forgot to drink. No, what a rookie mistake. But yeah, I struggle so much with like staying focused, man. It's something that I've never really been good at. But I just thought that was cool. I thought I would share that with you guys, because it's kind of an insight to, I guess, my upbringing or like school. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of people out there can relate to things like that. Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to things like that. At least things that you can remember as a child that made you not really stand out, but made you feel on the outskirts of everybody else around you. I think it's very important to like look at those sayings, and not that they make you special or anything, but at least to understand where you do kind of stick out from the rest, and learning to be okay with that instead of thinking of it as a weird thing, or at least at the time understanding it's okay to think it's weird, but you got to understand that it's not that weird. Like, it's a normal thing, and it's everybody deals with things like that, and I think it's very important to do that. But it's weird, like my door's open and nobody's home. It's just kind of lonely, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of little bit lonely. But I was listening to a really cool podcast this past week, and I don't know what everyone would think about this, but I was listening to a podcast, and this guy was on, and he was talking about these like injection sites. So where I'm from, there's a few cities around me where I live that are there's a high use of drugs within the city, within the towns, and there's especially a high use of something called opioids, and I'm sure everyone knows what they are. They're painkillers, and they're legal in the sense that you can get prescribed them. Like, you can get prescribed these drugs from a doctor, and in some cases you can also obtain these drugs illegally in the form of like heroin. And what these opioids do is you guys know they take away pain. They kind of they put you in a state of being high where you don't really feel anything. And the whole purpose of them are to use them as a pain reliever, as to use when you get out of surgery and you're having a lot of pain in your body, and so you can at least like go on with the daily activities of life, DLA, daily life activities, without being in pain. And it's a great idea, and it's a very very important thing. But what happens is some people so I had my toenail pulled out of my foot. I had an ingrown toenail. Sorry, should have clarified that before I said pulled out my foot. So I had an ingrown toenail, and I got the toenail removed from my foot. And I don't know the common practice. I don't know what they teach you in med school. I don't know how that whole thing works out, but excuse me, sorry about that. But I'm sitting there and I feel no pain because I think they like numbed it up. They like sprayed it down with all that like that numbing stuff, and I feel no pain. And as I'm getting ready to leave, the doctor's like, "Hey, I'm gonna prescribe you like this Tylenol 10-3 something like this really strong dose of Tylenol." And I'm looking at it, I'm like, "Damn, that's that seems like a lot." And I go pick up the drug, and it's like a big pill. Like this Tylenol was a huge pill, and I come to find out that it's an opioid. I show my dad. I'm like, Dad, have you ever had like a toenail removed, like an ingrown toenail? He's like, yeah. I was like, did you ever like have extreme pain? He was like, it was painful, but it was manageable. I was like, I got prescribed this like heavy dose of a drug, and I get really scared with stuff like that. Like, there's a reason why I've never consumed a lot of drugs, because I get scared that I could get very, very addicted to them. I could get very obsessive with them, especially anything that kind of like suppresses anything, or in that case, even like stimulates me a certain way. I don't know. I just don't want to take that risk if the risk is on, if I can avoid the risk. But I couldn't believe how easy it was for me to obtain this, this precursor of a drug that leads to a lot of dark places for so many people. And this place that is around me, like these towns that are around me, they have a serious issue with this. They have a serious issue with opioids, with the use of these drugs, usually prescribed by a doctor, and end up running out of prescriptions, running out of the ability to obtain these pills legally, but left with this gap that they need to fill. This withdrawal that you go through. You get prescribed these pills, and then they never give you like a way to get off the pills. So you just have these extreme highs, and then, because that's what they are. Like if you're not feeling pain, your body is literally it's numb. It's somewhere else. So you're given these pills, and then once you run out of them, it's like, oh well, figure it out on your own. But there's so many things that play into that. Like if you don't have like a structured life, or if you don't have the ability to control your impulses, if you're not educated on what these drugs are doing to your body, it can run off to a very negative, bad place where you may understand it, or you may not understand it, but all you know is that feeling that you can't have anymore because you don't have this. So the logical explanation, or the logical step for a lot of people, is to get that high again, but you can't do it legally anymore, so you turn to these drugs. And anyways, I digress again. I guess I'm just explaining it before I kind of just say what I'm going to say. So you get a lot of people obtaining these illegal, against the law, not allowed to have opioid replacements such as heroin, that are sometimes laced with drugs like fentanyl. And fentanyl is a horse tranquilizer. And there's one called, I forget what it's called. It's some type of fentanyl that's actually an elephant tranquilizer. But this is a horse tranquilizer. This is something that I listened to this really cool podcast on Joe Rogan. I forget the guy he was interviewing. But this guy was basically a journalist, and he went to China, and he talks about like these places are chemically producing these drugs and just selling them to like the biggest drug lords of each country. Mexico, Brazil, the Middle East, India, Mexico, and then coming up to the United States, Venezuela coming up to the United States, whatever. And and if you have fentanyl, it's cheaper than heroin, at least to buy it. Like so then you plug the fentanyl up so you cut fentanyl into the heroin, so you can take out less heroin, same color. I thought it was, but he was saying how it's like a different color. But if you're really, really an addict, you don't really look at the color. You're just trying to get a fix. But it obviously lowers your cost if you're using less of the, I guess, I don't know, not quality, but the pure heroin. If you could take some of that out and then fill that gap with fentanyl, and then that heroin that you took out, you can use as another sale. So as you can see, your costs are going to go down, so you're going to be selling the same amount of, you're gonna be selling more while your cost is going down because the fentanyl is cheaper. So you can see how it's a chase for money. You can get more profit that way if you're selling it. So you get people that get hooked on these drugs, and it was just a very interesting podcast. But he said something that I thought was so, like, I couldn't at first. I didn't really understand what I was reading. I couldn't really think about. I couldn't really understand what he was saying, so I had to look it up. And he talks about these things called Supervised Injection Sites, and I couldn't find too many pictures on Google Images. I kind of found just like it looked like two separate buildings, just repeated a few times. And what these places essentially are, I think it was, I think they passed like a bunch in Ireland. I wish I could like have somebody on the laptop like looking it up for me. But they had somebody in Ireland. They like passed a law in Ireland to have these, and Ireland, which actually I have a lot of family from. Actually, my great grandfather is from Ireland. And I think it was Amsterdam. I want to say it was Amsterdam. I don't know which one it was. I want to say it was Amsterdam. I'm not too sure on that though. I don't know. You can look it up. Like, go check it out real quick and make sure you come back to the podcast. But essentially, what these places are places that drug users would go to. So I thought at first, I was so confused by it. So what it is you can take your drugs, you can buy your drugs, and also a lot of these places have drugs. A lot of these drugs that these people obtain are legal because drug use is pretty much 100% legal in a lot of these countries. So you can obtain your heroin, you can obtain whatever it is, whatever your drug of choice is. And you go to these supervised injection sites where they have trained doctors on staff. They have trained professionals on staff. They have EMT on staff. They have Narcan there. They have clean needles. It's like a full-on medical center for drug users, people who are drug addicts. And they provide you with this ability to go there, get your high, and if you die, we can bring you back to life. Or if you OD, we can save you on the spot. So I'm thinking about this, and I read this. I as I'm listening to the podcast, someone comes in, and I asked their opinion about it, and they were like, they thought it was like enabling. And I start thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, it kind of is enabling, right? So there's like two sides of it. Like, I know a few people that are heavy drug users, or I knew them, or I still know of them. Anyways, that doesn't matter. But what does matter is that hair in my mouth. Sorry. Is that there's not everybody. So there's just, I don't know. I understand both sides. Like, I understand that you're enabling people and you're wasting your time. You should try to save these people's lives, right? Like, you should make more rehab centers. You should force these people to, become sober. But then the issue becomes, well, not like you have to want to be sober. You have to want to make that change. And yes, some people may be able to respond quicker if you force them to. If you stay on their case and you say, no, you're not doing this. You're not doing this. But just from my experience and people that I've talked to, it's exhausting, and sometimes it gets to the point where it's almost impossible, and you can't force somebody to change. I mean, it's like this in everything. Like in a relationship, it's like this at work. It can be like this anywhere, school. Like, you cannot force anybody to change. You're never going to force anyone to change. Only person that you're going to hurt is yourself by doing that, because they're not going to change. They're not going to make that change that you want. So you're going to get depressed, and you're going to feel like you're doing wrong, and it's going to ultimately hurt you more than it hurts the other person. And then every once in a while you get the person who does go to rehab, and even once they get there, they don't always become sober. So you find this weird balance of, the right thing, or not balance, but you get in this situation where what you want, right? You don't want people on drugs. You don't want people on fentanyl or on heroin and dying of fentanyl. You don't want this. Like, you hate this. You don't like the idea of this. But the reality is, like, the truth is, it's not everyone's going to become sober and live a life. You know, a lot of people are going to pass away. A lot of people are going to pick up certain diseases from the use from trading needles, and from, you know, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. A lot of people are going to, you know, really struggle. And it's dark because you almost don't want to even think about it. But these drugs are going to be used, right? They're going to be used by a lot of people, you know? And so these countries have decided to supply these places where they it's weird because it's like, fuck, they gave up. You know, they're just giving like these drug addicts, they're like, they kind of gave up on them, you know? Like, okay, you win. Here you go. Here's your place. But also it's saving lives too, right? Because the same person who's walking in there with their drugs and they're going to use their drugs are probably going to end up dead on the street corner, or, you know, not in a good situation out there in the cold, or whatever it is. So at least it's this place where they can do the drugs. But it was very weird as I was listening to that. I was like, that is fucked up. But then I was like, that's not really fucked up. Like, it's almost like, because you can never decide to change if you pass away, right? You know? And, you know, people say you got to hit absolutely rock bottom before you make a change. And that falls into so many categories. And if you OD and nobody's around and you die, that could have been the last OD you ever had, because you could have never done the drug again. You could have got sober after that. But you would never know if you were in the street corner and nobody was there to save you. You know, if you were homeless and nobody was there to save you. If you're trapped in your house and nobody was there to help you. You know what I mean? So it's almost like you're extending some people's lives. And you know what? So some people who are like, oh, thank you. You know, never going to get a rehab now. You're giving me a place. You know, so it's one of those things that are very, very interesting, you know? You know, everything that we're experiencing right now in 2019 is interesting. Like, we have a year coming up to the elections, and, you know me, I don't get too much into politics. I don't really know what I believe. I don't know enough to really formulate hard opinions on anything. I've also never been the person to argue somebody, really. Like, I'm very much like come on, let's just, I don't want to do this, you know? Maybe not. Maybe I do argue. But, you know, we're in this weird place, and we're seeing a lot of things happen in this world right now. We're seeing a lot of almost like people getting like sick and tired of the way things are. We're getting sick and tired. We're calling people things that, you know, that we're using words, and we're calling people things, and we're hypothesizing things nowadays in 2019 that nobody really understands the long-term effects of any of this, you know? I was reading something last week, and it was talking about high schools, these certain high schools in, I forget what state it was, where they had women or men identifying as females in, like, I think it was track and field, and these were men, and they weren't even like transitioned, you know, they were just full on men, but they were like identifying as females. They were saying, I'm a female, and they had, like, nobody could tell them no, you know, so you could go play with the girls, and you could go like compete with the girls, and they were winning, you know, they were crushing these girls. It's a lot less at that age, but they were still, you know, they were beating these girls, and these girls were upset. And these guys were like crushing. First off, once I read that, I thought it was kind of hilarious, because I totally think I knew people in school, or at least I definitely had friends that potentially would like joke around about that and like say like they identified as a girl just to go like crush the girls. But you're living in a world, there's almost like a fictional world going on, you know? And I don't want to get kickback for this, but I thought this was so interesting that there's people who are, you know, and I think about it like this, like if I had a daughter and they were on the high school track team, and I go out, I had the whole family, I had my parents here, and, you know, we're all going out to watch, you know, my daughter compete in this, you know, state tournament. for the high jump or for the 100-meter dash. And I go out there and there's a kid who's not a girl. They're a guy, and they're not even transgendered. They're just a male saying they're a girl or a female, and they're out there competing against my daughter. Like, that would, first of all, it would be confusing. It would make me angry because here's my daughter who's been training her whole life for this, and I don't even have kids yet, but it was just so mind-boggling that this is going on. There's that powerlifter who was a male his entire life, and now he transitioned to a woman, and he decided to powerlift against, or weightlift, or Olympic lift against all these females, and he was crushing all these women, and nobody was like, it like went on way too long. I think they're at the point now where they're like saying, no, you can't do that. But it's like at the point now where it got to the point where nobody was like questioning it. Like, everyone was so afraid to come out and say something. Like, hey, bro, you're okay. I get it. I'll call you a woman. You can be a woman. That doesn't affect me at all. That's fine. I think you should be allowed to do that, right? That's not my job. But it's not cool when you're competing against actually born females that are born females. They don't have testosterone in their body. They have estrogen. They have a period, like they're not as physically strong as you. They're not as, they don't have the same bone density as you. They're not as strong as you are, I would be upset with that. Like, I would be upset with that. But we've gotten to a place, and Obama came out and said something that I thought was so good to hear. So great to hear. He came out and he was like interviewing, or he was like at a talk or something. He's like, this cancel culture that we live in is not healthy. It's not healthy because if you cancel everything, if you call everything out, then you don't call out real bullshit. Like, real bullshit when you have male MMA, transgendered male to female fighters going out and beating the shit out of women. Like, that happened. Where you have these men who are men for 25 years, 30 years of life, get their dick chopped off, and now they're beating the shit out of women. That is brutal. Like, that should not happen. Like, if we weren't in a ring, listen, if we weren't in a ring and we didn't have lights and we didn't have a judge, that gentleman, that female, would be arrested and thrown to jail, and that would be assault, right? That would be assault, because guess what? Nobody cares because you beat the living shit out of a woman, right? You look like a male. You're thick like a male. You have the bone density of a male. You have the muscle mass of a male. You have the punching ability of a male, and you just beat the shit out of a female. You get to a point where you cancel everything out. It's like math, and like, we tied in back to the beginning. It's like math, dude. When you're sitting there and you're doing an equation, you get to the end, and it's like, how do you get rid of the 2p how do you get rid of the 2p and there's a 2 on the other side of the equation? Oh, you divide it by 2. The 2 crosses out, and then it crosses out on the other 2, so then you have p equals 1. But we got into this point now where we're canceling out so many things, we don't know what to do next. Everyone has their back up against the wall. Nobody wants to like take a step forward and like start really saying things like, hey, brother, like, we can't do this. We can't allow this. We got to have stiff lines on certain things. And it was so nice to listen to Mr. President Obama talk about this. It's affecting everybody, because you don't just cancel out something at the moment, right? You cancel out things that are going to, that come up. And if you cancel everything out, it's like bottlenecking in genes. like every animal species ever lived, the ones that aren't around now, it's because their niche it got squeezed in, and the genetic pool became smaller and smaller. Things started canceling out, and they died off, right? And that's kind of what's going on. Is like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, you can't say that, you can't say that, you can't say that, you can't say that, you can't say that. Then what can we say? What can we do? Like, how do we express ourselves anymore? Like, how do we actually show anger? Like, you can't be angry, right? You can't be angry because that's like aggression. Like, I don't go to one of these colleges. Well, I might, but I don't know. I don't really pay attention. But there's colleges out there that you can't express emotion. Like, you can only express positive emotion. You can't be angry. You can't debate with somebody. You can't debate with somebody. You can't have quote unquote radical thoughts, right? It's so crazy because you can, because I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it over a podcast. And this is what I'm saying. Like, this is why I think podcasting right now is going to be the next medium. Because I think what happens is people get so fed up with their voice being shunned. People get so upset when they can't say something. People get so upset when everything they say is like disavowed. Like, no, like, shut up. You're not allowed to say that. Your point doesn't matter. Like, there was that tweet by the woman who said, was it like all men are wrong, or like don't listen to any men, or something like that, where it's like, what are you talking about? Like, that's delusional. Like, you got to understand that's delusional, right? And it's like everybody's voices, you can't shut out everybody's voices, because when you do that, everybody starts talking more, because that's like human nature, right? This is why I think podcasting is so damn important. I think it's so damn important. If you have an opinion on something, right or wrong, popular or unpopular, whatever the fuck it is, as long as it isn't offensive, as long as it not even offensive, because everything you say is offensive to somebody, right? Everything I say is offensive to somebody. Like, this shirt is offensive to somebody. I haven't even talked about this shirt. It's kind of hilarious. I'm wearing this, but everything you do is offensive to somebody out there. So guess what? You're going to be offensive. I'm going to be offensive. You're going to be offensive. Well, what you have to do, and I truly believe this at my common core, there's that freedom of speech. You got to have the freedom of speech, and you cannot ever be in a situation, in a world where that freedom of speech is not allowed, because we see what happens when that happens. You take away this, you take away that, you take away this, you take away this. Next thing you know, you have an upheaval of a country. Next thing you know, like, it's been 30 years since Berlin Wall came down. Why did that happen? Why did that happen? Because you start regulating things. You start telling people what they can and can't do. You can't do this. You're not allowed to say that to this person. You cannot go over there. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. And what does that lead to? That leads to pissed off people. That leads to a lot of angry people. That leads to riots. That leads to upheavals. That leads to a generation that loses trust in everything. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a mixture of people who don't trust the system. You're seeing a system of people that don't trust people who don't trust the system. You're seeing a world where everybody's just confused. And then you have a president who is super just, I guess, not flamboyant, but just very, I guess, dumb, or just very impulsive. He says things all the time that he does. I don't think he even means. He just says them. So you have like these like radical thoughts just being thrown around all day, every day. So I think it's very important to, if you have something to say, and this is what I want this podcast to be about. I want people on this podcast to just say whatever they want to say, as long as it isn't hurting, as long as it isn't intentional to hurt somebody else. I don't say things to hurt anybody, and I think a lot of that is, when somebody is trying to fucking hurt someone else's feelings, and that's fucked up. You don't do that. You don't say that shit, and it's leading to a weird place, right? You see, and like, I don't know. You see it all the time. Like, you see Fox and CNN talking to each other, and like they're like red versus blue, like Team A versus Team B, and like they try to cancel each other out, like they try to like attack each other, but nobody's fucking watching. And this is crazy, because if you look at the viewership of those people, there's not a lot of people watching, but the people who are watching have the loudest voices on social media, and they put out these things, and the people lose their goddamn mind. And even the people losing their mind are still not a large part of the population. A large part of the population doesn't give a fuck. I was in my math class, or in my data class, and so we have like 340 million people in the world, right? In the United States. And he's like, we're getting, we have a year left until voting comes around. Well, 150 million people are going to vote. Let's just say there is, out of 340,000, only 250,000, 200,000 of them are adults, and the other 140 million are kids, and 200 million of them are I meant millions the whole time are adults. You have 150 million of them voting. 25% of the population isn't even voting, and of those people voting, I don't know if they really know what they're voting for. I know if I voted right now, I don't know what I'm voting for. I have no idea what I'm voting for. Yeah, I think it's just important to. My business law said it. My business law teacher said it very well. It's like, I don't care what you believe. I don't care what you think, but I think it is important to do some research and really understand what you're thinking, what you're saying. I don't know. But I also think it's very important to say what's on your mind and just be open and honest with people. I think that's a very important thing. And I think what cannot happen and what won't happen is you can't strip people away from saying you can't tell people not to say certain things, and that's what crucified Jordan Peterson. There was a law in Canada that was going to be passed where you were actually going to be, you were going to have to pay a fine as if you called somebody by the wrong name, like if they are him or her, and they identify as like a Zer or a Zim or whatever it is, and you didn't call them by that, you had to pay a fine. Like that's fucking crazy. That's communism. That's not socialism anymore. I mean, that is socialism. That's extreme socialism. And it's like, you can't do that because it doesn't lead to any good thing. That doesn't lead to anything good. That just leads to evilness. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Here's a fun fact. I'm just going to end on this real quick, or end on it, two things. I was sitting at work today and somebody paid me $10, for, I don't know, for like childcare. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But they gave me a $10 bill, and it was like someone like took a bite out of it, like at the corner, and like 1/8 of the dollar bill was like, or the $10 bill was missing. I turned to one of my my employees, and he's like, "Did you know like there's a certain percentage that needs to be, there has to be a certain percentage of the dollar seeable. So there has to, like, if I give you $10, there has to be a certain amount of the money that you can visually see in order for it to be accepted." And we were saying, oh, there has to be like 70% or 80% of the dollar there. It was only, listen to this, it was only 51%. Someone gives you a dollar bill, there only has to be 51% of the dollar bill there. And if it's more than 51% or 51% or higher, you must legally buy a tender. So as a business who accepts cash, or anybody that accepts cash, that is a valid form of payment. And you have to accept that $1 bill. Isn't that crazy? I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. One final thing before I head on out. I'm going to try to watch a movie tonight with nobody here called The Irishman on Netflix with Robert De Niro. I think that's kind of my plan for a night. I don't really have too much going on. I actually don't have anything going on. I get paid tomorrow, which is kind of cool. Not that you guys care about that, but I have not tried the Popeyes chicken sandwich yet, and I know a lot of people have tried the Popeyes chicken sandwich, but I have not tried it yet. I do live in Maryland, and that incident where the guy got stabbed actually happened right up the street from me, about 15 minutes away, up in Oxon Hill, Maryland. And I haven't tried the Popeyes chicken sandwich yet. I actually got a Chick-fil-A sandwich yesterday, so on the 8th of November. And as I was eating it, I was like, you know what? Fuck the Popeyes chicken sandwich. So if you guys hate me for that, you can hate me. I will have it eventually, but I was like, the Chick-fil-A sandwich is so good. Like, and this is where my brain went. I was like, why does everybody want the Popeye chicken sandwich? We already know the Chick-fil-A sandwich is so good. Why would you change it? It's already good. Yeah, I don't know. I do know I'm gonna probably get off this podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I know it's a lot different than most of my episodes. I really didn't talk about myself at all. I kind of just talked about like current events and stuff like that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. Episode 41 is now over. If you guys did enjoy it, you guys kind of know what to do. By the way, I don't know. I am forever grateful for what you guys have done for me with this podcast. It's done so much better than I thought it would be doing at this point. I know it's going to do well because I know I won't stop until it does do well, because I enjoy coming up here and doing these podcasts. It's so fun. And like, I'm slowly getting better and better and better. Like, that's the best compliment when people say, dude, you're getting so much better. Like, compared to your first episode to now, And it's like, thank you so much. But I was like, was it really that bad at the beginning? I was like, yeah, it was. Like my first episode, I don't know if you guys even know this, but I couldn't even get the mic to line up with the video. What you guys heard was a mic from my camera. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for all the love. And if you guys enjoy it, please leave it a like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend, a family about it. That's probably the best way to help it grow. If you guys are listening on audio, make sure you do drop it a rating. Download it too. Make sure you guys download the episodes. That helps a lot. Rating, download, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on my social medias, Mike R. Labs, Silence Fitness, and Michael Labs Show. You guys can follow me on Twitter, Mike R. Lobes, Lobs, not Labs, Mike R. Lobes. Facebook is Michael Labs. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have yourself a great Monday. I'll catch you guys on Tuesday, hopefully, if not Tuesday, Thursday, but most likely on Tuesday with episode 42. Thank you guys so much. Have a great week.